Hello, and thank you so much for joining us here. I'm Netta Iranpour. Here at CBS 8, we are working for you. We're getting to the bottom of problems you've asked us about, and we are looking for solutions. So we want to start with those strange-looking devices that have been popping up around freeways. Have you seen these? Wondering what are they? They're along our roads throughout San Diego County. We haven't initially gotten any explanation, but it did take several emails, calls, and texts, and then we finally got some answers. CBS 8's Steve Price working for you on what we've learned about these cameras and the data they're tracking.
What is it? These things started showing up on the side of highways all over the county, and based on social media posts, you've been noticing them too. So working for you, we found out who's behind them and what they're doing.
Reddit users had all kinds of guesses. Plate readers, those are speed snitches. Ice cameras? This one is on the side of Highway 78 in Vista, which led us to believe they belong to Caltrans, but Caltrans said they're not ours and told us to contact UC San Diego.
Every year, somewhere between 35,000 and 45,000 people die on our roadways. This is a major public health concern.
Ryan Moran is both a UCSD primary care doctor and a researcher in the School of Public Health, and he confirmed these are theirs. The purpose, to monitor the prevalence of what they call the riskiest driving behaviors.
Those specifically are speeding, handheld cell phone use, and seatbelt non-adherence, so not wearing a seatbelt.
He also told me they're focusing on commercial motor vehicles, not passenger cars, and I asked him about the obvious concern.
There's zero personal data collected. There's no information about the specific vehicles that it's evaluating, except for it's generally focusing on larger vehicles at this time.
He also assured me cops have no access to the information.
There's zero chance or any interest in enforcement.
The study has actually been going on for about a year and a half now, with the AI-supported cameras moved around the county. And while the data is still being collected, he did share an initial finding. When there are fewer cars on the road, we take more chances.
When we oftentimes feel safer, we behave riskier, and that is a problem.
He said weekends, early mornings, and late at night is when they're finding the most violations. But again, the study isn't finished. But when it is, he promises CBS 8 viewers will get the results.
We would be honored to have the media as one of the outlets.
Working for you, Steve Price, CBS 8.
I was shocked that it was $4,000, a whole year's worth of water bills. I was shocked.
You are trying to give them money.
Right.
And you can't get in touch with them.
No one.
It was a pretty big shock to us to have a bill for that amount of money.
Ooh, yeah, those would be pretty tough to deal with. For years, we've been working for you, covering these issues plaguing San Diego's water department, including customers either not receiving bills or getting ones totaling thousands of dollars. You heard from a few examples right there. And now we can report there are significant improvements. The city's utilities department reached out to us, wanting to share what has now changed. CBS 8's Shannon Handy working for you and shares what they had to say.
Following all of our coverage on these water bill issues, the City Council demanded PUD make improvements and provide annual updates. Well, before updating the council this afternoon, I sat down with PUD's customer support director. She says from call wait times to backlog bills, everything has gotten better.
I'm really, really proud of my staff. I'm really, really proud of all the hard work that they've done.
Michelle Costello is Deputy Director of PUD's Customer Support Division. She was brought on 10 months ago during a time when the department was facing ongoing criticism from customers, many of whom appeared in countless CBS 8 stories.
It was a pretty big shock to us.
I just didn't notice that I wasn't getting my water bill.
It's as if we don't exist.
Time and time again, we reported on people not getting water bills for months. Then without any explanation or warning, they get a ton all at once, totaling thousands of dollars. Another complaint, when they called to figure out what was going on, it took hours to reach someone on the phone.
The root cause, the reason a lot of people were calling was because of this billing issue. So we really just deployed a lot of our existing resources that we had to really tackle that problem.
In doing so, Costello says not only did the billing backlog go down, but so did call wait times. According to statistics provided by PUD, in the past year, there's been a 90% reduction in the held bill backlog. In February 2024, the backlog was 24,497 bills. In March of this year, the backlog was 2,411. The current backlog is about 1,200, less than 1% of overall accounts. And customer wait times have reached a record low. In March 2024, the average wait time was 33 minutes and 44 seconds, down from close to 2 hours a year before. Now it's 1 minute, 53 seconds.
I think the biggest change is really about understanding the technology, understanding the data, and then really deploying the resources appropriately.
All of which took years to make a noticeable impact.
Good afternoon, everyone.
Today, Costello presented those changes to the City Council, telling me beforehand, while she's proud of the progress, there's still room for improvement, including regaining the public's trust.
I think what I would say to customers who may feel a little bit leery is go ahead and give us a try. I have a very dedicated staff who really just want to serve the public and do good work.
Working for you, Shanna Handy, CBS 8.
Public Utilities Department telling us they do offer payment plans for customers who may need that. Now to a Working for You update. A local nonprofit dedicated to rescuing rabbits has won its fight against a suspected scammer. Facebook finally now taking down a page impersonating the San Diego House Rabbit Society. Last week, we told you a Facebook page called San Diego's Bunny was using the nonprofit's logo, even stolen photos, claiming to sell and deliver rabbits, but you have to pay them $300. That was the scam. Despite multiple red flags and attempts to report the page, Facebook had refused to remove it. Meta did. Since our story ran, the company has now taken down that fake page. Well, they are feared, yeah, they are often misunderstood, and with warmer weather, more visible. These rattlesnakes making their seasonal return. But how much of what we think we know about these reptiles is actually true? CBS 8's Brian White working for you to separate fact from fiction.
Out here on the trails in Alpine, it's prime time for hikers and rattlesnakes. But how much of what we've heard about them is actually true? I'm here with a snake wrangler who's heard it all, and he's setting the record straight. Meet Tom Minga, a rattlesnake specialist who's handled these reptiles for over 6 decades. He says this is the biggest misconception.
That they'll chase you down, go after you. It's totally untrue. You're as big as a telephone pole to them.
Turns out rattlesnakes are not out to get you. They're actually scared of you and would rather slither away.
Leave it alone. Don't mess with it. A lot of people get bit messing with them.
Myth, rattlesnakes only come out during the day. Fact, they're active at night too, especially on warm evenings.
They definitely are out at night. Once it gets 75 degrees, they operate at night. They're well equipped to do so.
Another myth, that rattlesnakes can bite you and you won't know it. But the fact is you will, because they are very painful. It's also been said that baby rattlesnakes are more dangerous. Not true, according to Minga, though they can still bite.
No way. I'd rather get bit by one with a little tiny head like that than one with a big old head.
And while the rattle is their trademark warning, don't count on it, especially from the younger ones.
You can't hear the baby rattle. They're born with one segment. Every time they shed their skin, they grow another one. And until they get at least 2 or 3, you can't hear them.
Hikers I talk to say a little awareness goes a long way.
It's an amazing encounter when you see them and stay far enough away to let them do their thing and then just kind of keep moving.
Tom says stay on trails, keep your dog leashed, and always watch where you step. If you respect their space, they'll usually return the favor. Working for you, Brian White, CBS 8.
Yeah, hopefully that advice right there will keep you safe. Up next, the state has approved State Farm's emergency rate hike request, how much homeowners and renters can expect to pay. And if you were recently dropped by your insurance company, there's a way to get your coverage back and get a discount. Welcome back here. Millions of State Farm insurance customers in California will soon experience substantial rate hikes. An emergency increase was recently approved by the state's insurance commissioner. State Farm's request for an emergency rate increase came in the wake of the January wildfires in Los Angeles. On average, homeowners will see a 17% rise. Renters and condo owners, 15%. And rental property owners, landlords, will see on average a 38% spike in your rates. Experts tell us the overall cost for policyholders will come down to the specific location of their homes.
See someone that's nowhere near the brush that has a home, their rate might go up 5%, right? But somebody that's closer to the hills or in an area that's very high risk for wildfire, they might see it go up 25%.
As part of an agreement, State Farm is pausing non-renewals through the end of the year. Another hearing will be held most likely in October, in which State Farm must fully justify the need for this rate increase. In the meantime, these new rate hikes take effect June 1st. Meantime, we know all too well, fire season, it's now year-round. That means so is the need for fire insurance. CBS 8's Alex Cheney working for you, breaking down what you can do to get coverage back if your policy was dropped. We know that happened to so many. And he shows us how some people may even be eligible for a discount.
You're only as safe as your neighbors.
Judy Harrington is the co-chair of the Kensington Fire Safe Council. She says her council has received several calls and emails from people who have lost their fire insurance and can only get it back if they take steps to harden their homes.
I can do everything to my house, but if my neighbor has all kinds of plants right up to the house and, old kind of vents that let embers in and then their house catches on fire, mine's going to go too.
Things like concrete, or pavers, or granite.
Amy lives down the street from Judy and is creating 5 feet of defensible space around her home, removing mulch from the front yard, and more.
It would be great if the insurance companies would take a look at all the improvements we're making to our property, see that it's so much safer in case of a fire, and offer us a rebate.
The California Department of Insurance requires insurance companies to offer discounts to homeowners who take steps to harden their homes. The Wildfire Prepared Home Program can make you eligible for discounts. You can sign up to have an evaluator come to your home. If you meet the requirements, you'll be given a certificate that is recognized by most insurance companies and be eligible for a discount. The amount depends on your provider.
If you have the stamp of approval, you're 5 times more likely to get insured and then have, it depends, everyone's different. So it can be a discount of, $15 to $500.
The California Fair Plan, which is fire insurance offered by the state instead of a private company, is also offering discounts for homeowners who harden their homes against wildfire.
Man. And that was Alex Cheney reporting. For more information on the Wildfire Prepared Home Program and how to get this process started, you can go to CBS8.com, click on the online link to this story. Next, some victims from last year's floods now dealing with a new problem in a familiar location. We're going to show you what happened when we got involved. Welcome back here. A family devastated by last year's floods reached out to CBS 8 asking for help with another issue, a nearby homeless encampment. They feel like local officials are doing nothing to solve the problem. CBS 8's David Godferson working for you to find out what's being done now to address the homeless crisis in this area.
They ignore our concerns and we got flooded. My mother was out of her house for 3 months.
Logan Heights resident Carolyn Carr is getting a bad feeling of deja vu. Last year, her mother's home was washed out during the floods after neighbors complained repeatedly about flood channels not being maintained. Now she's got a different problem.
These people brought bed mattresses, couches, chairs, you name it. How did all that stuff get here?
A homeless encampment on Caltrans land at Ocean View Boulevard and I-15 that Carolyn says she's been complaining about for months. The land is right next to the city's flood channel.
Our neighborhood's being overrun by people who have no invested in this neighborhood whatsoever. They're mentally ill, they're drug addicts, and they don't live here.
Carolyn says she's called both the city and Caltrans, but no action has been taken.
They had a fire going on here. You see all these trees right here? This stuff can be caught on fire. And if the winds are coming from the east, guess where it's going? Right across this freeway off-ramp over into where we live.
Anybody in there? Hello? I was able to speak with Mario Marquez, who lives in the encampment.
I got kicked out of the house because I started yelling out loud to these voices, and so my mom called the police, and she kicked me out. So I got no other place to live but here.
I told him about Carolyn's concerns.
Getting worried about you cooking down here and starting fires. What do you have to say about that?
Well, they shouldn't be worried about nothing, because, I mean, it's separate. Well, they should be worried about these apartments, but that's about it.
I reached out to Caltrans. A spokesperson said workers were out there last year. The agency is aware of the encampment, and it's scheduled to be addressed. So again, there seems to be two jurisdictions involved here. The encampments are based on Caltrans land, but then some of the trash is going down into the city flood control channel. We'll keep monitoring the situation here in Logan Heights. Working for you, David Gottfredson, CBS 8.
And now this, a new city audit claims the city of San Diego losing at least $4 million every year through its private trash hauler contracts. The audit also found San Diego's recycling rate has remained at about 67% for a decade. That's far behind its established climate goal. You see right there, the goal 75% rate by 2020. One San Diegan we spoke with says these disappointing recycling rates discourage others from doing their part.
It makes me understand why people aren't doing it. They go, well, it's not, I've heard this myself from, neighbors and everybody, like, it's not going to get recycled, so why should I be doing it?
Yeah, there are still proper ways you can recycle to ensure it happens. As for the trash haulers, the audit recommends the city should raise its fees at the rate of inflation. It also recommends the city should provide trash haulers more incentives to increase recycling. Google is rolling out a new tool to protect Android users from scam texts about fake toll fees. It uses AI to scan texts for red flags like poor grammar, urgent language, suspicious links. When a threat is detected, the app warns users with a likely scam alert message and gives you the option to block or report the sender. Experts say they expect scammers will adapt to the new detections.
Definitely going to look at today's announcement and other technologies that are already out there, and they're going to be testing their wares against them.
That was a USD professor of cybersecurity. Even with the technology, make sure to check for poor grammar in any messages you get, unusual phone numbers, and suspicious links. Best not to click on those. Are you a victim of Siri snooping? Some Apple users can now submit claims for a payout related to a 2019 lawsuit. Now, the company agreed to pay a $95 million settlement after claims that Siri recorded conversations without consent. Apple did not admit to any wrongdoing. These payouts will be capped at $20 per device with a maximum of $100. That's for up to 5 devices. Eligible customers are being notified by email. I got one of those. The subject line will say Lopez Voice Assistant Class Action Settlement. There's also a link. Make sure it's the right one, but we have that posted too. And that is going to do it for us. So glad you joined us here on CBS 8. And remember, always, if there's something you'd like us to look into, something that's been bothering you maybe, email us at workingforyou@cbs8.com. We'll try to get any of your questions answered. Thank you so much for joining us. We hope you have a wonderful day, and we'll see you next time.